Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks to the organisers for providing me with the opportunity to update you on our Cangallo project in Peru and what we have in front of us. I'd also like to thank some previous speakers who highlighted copper as one of the preferred commodities and the fact that we could be at the start of a bull run on commodities on the share market. That would be a great outcome for our company. When I stood in front of you last year, our share price was hovering around 1 cent. But we had a number of advanced projects and we were excited about, especially in Peru, where we had several projects at the drill-ready stage. In January of this year, we announced the discovery of a porphyry copper-gold deposit in Cangallo based on results of our maiden drilling program at that prospect. The initial excitement in the market, which saw our share price rise to roughly 6-7 cents, or a capex of about 80 million, has cooled a little bit in recent times to roughly, it was 3.5, I think it went to 4.5 in the last couple of days, and a capex of roughly 60 million. But I'm here to show you why you should be now having a closer look at our company as we embark on our next drilling programs, which should be completed by the end of this year. The usual disclaimers. Some key points for you to consider as to why you should be paying attention to our Cangallo discovery. Firstly, scale. We've only just started to understand the potential of this deposit, which continues to grow with each drilling program we complete. And we expect that to continue, and I'll show you why shortly. Secondly, as I've been told recently, 0.3% copper is the new 0.5, especially when dealing with oxide and supergene copper that occurs close to the surface and can be processed by heap leaching methods. We have many broad intersections, hundreds of metres of better than 0.3% copper, some up to 0.45 on an average. These are all starting at shallow depths near the surface and should be open cuttable. And we have also high expectations that when we intersect the source porphyry, driving this large system, we should see higher grades as well. Thirdly, our location is excellent. I'll say that again. Our location is excellent, which we think should mean lower cost structures, both OPEX and CAPEX, and shorter timeframes for development. The project is close to the coast, close to power lines, the Pan-Pacific Highway, and close to the township of Charla, which could provide a workforce. It also occurs at low altitude, which is another point in its favour. Fourthly, Cangallo is 100% owned by AusQuest through its Peruvian subsidiary, Questor SAC. This should maximise the potential upside for shareholders. And finally, there are multiple near-term catalysts with drilling programs planned over the coming months, which should provide steady news flow to the market. A very interesting time for the company. Now, let's have a look at the project. As I've just said, a key advantage of our Cangallo project is location, 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 which I note we saw in the previous speaker. There are many stranded porphyry copper deposits in South America, often due to water and community. This prospect is at low altitude, roughly 1,200 metres, is within 8 kilometres of the coast, which provides a source of processed water for when we get into production. There are power lines and the Pacific Highway basically crossing the prospect as well. And as I said before, a workforce out of Charla. There's about 10,000 people with ties to fishing and mining. Other land uses competing, notably agriculture, are absent from the prospect. It's a desert area. So we are hopeful that the possibility of development, pending our results, of course, will not encounter untoward objections and hopefully take much less time than the average of 17 years that Grady provided to us yesterday. We believe this is the first true greenfields porphyry copper discovery in Peru for at least 20 years, which has come as a result of hard work and persistence by our team in Peru, led by Mick Sherrington, as well as our staff and consultants based in Perth. So why Peru? Peru is an excellent place to explore for copper, being the second largest producer of copper in the world. It has an established mining jurisdiction, and whilst not perfect, it is transparent, with several new mine developments in southern Peru being approved by the government over the past 3 to 4 years. And these are highlighted on the slide in a pink colour. Since arriving in Peru, AusQuest has focused its exploration along the coastal belt, where we have been able to secure title in areas that we deemed of interest based on our proprietary aeromag survey and structural interpretations. We believe then, as we do now, that the coastal belt of southern Peru is underexplored, given its natural advantages and proximity to the coast and other infrastructure. Having a closer look at our drilling to date, we've now completed 2 stages of RC drilling for a total of 21 holes and approximately 8,000 metres. This is still early stage, but each of our holes is reporting good results. We have multiple broad intercepts, hundreds of metres of copper, which you can read on the slide, with mineralisation in at least 19 of the 21 holes we've drilled, and at least 16 of those with mineralisation from near surface to the bottom of hole. We're still in it at the base. An impressive record and very encouraging start for a new prospect, especially considering the holes are widely spaced at roughly 300 metres apart. The increased copper grades found in drilling compared to some of the surface assays, which you can see on the slide, little yellow dots, implies there has been significant leaching of copper from surface, hence some lower grades, but this gives a strong potential for supergene enrichment of copper to occur within this whole complex, which we think we're already starting to see in our drill holes. As I said, most holes have ended in mineralisation, indicating the system is still open in most directions, if not all, and including depth. These features tend to go down to large depths, highlighting the potential to significantly increase the size of the prospect with further drilling. It's probably worthwhile noting for those who don't really know, that porphyry copper deposits typically have lower copper grades. I'm often asked about the grade than other styles, but importantly, porphyry coppers produce much of the world's copper and are highly profitable if you have enough size and can use open cut methods and heap leaching, especially in the early years, to pay back capital before developing the deeper and much larger sulfide bodies that generally occur with depth. These cross sections show copper and gold values downhole, with copper on the right and gold on the left. As you can see, the copper and gold are generally continuous downhole, with most holes ending in mineralisation. And again, the holes are widely spaced, and we've drilled in a scissor-like pattern to increase the effective coverage. The copper occurs as oxides and sulfides, some secondary in the top 300 metres, some primary at the base of the holes. They occur in veins and fractures dominantly within the host volcanics, with some of the higher grades occurring within thin porphyry tonalite dikes, suggesting that the source of these dikes, that is the causative porphyry, should contain higher copper grades. The fact that we haven't yet intersected the causative porphyry and the copper is very widespread within the country rocks tells us and gives us great optimism that we're dealing with a very large, strong porphyry system that we're only just starting to define and understand. We have completed some preliminary metallurgical test work on a selection of samples from our Stage 1 drilling program, with generally favourable results. No obvious red flags yet. But there's still a lot more test work to be done after the drill coverage has been expanded and we get a better handle on the extent of the mineralisation. If you look at the bigger picture, you can see that stage 1 and 2, in the northern part of the slide, stage 1 and 2 drilling has only tested a very small part of the prospect. Recent mapping and sampling in the south has identified further anomalous copper and moly values, copper's on the left-hand side and moly on the right, and also located more intrusive dikes with high grades in them, effectively telling us that the porphyry system, in all likelihood, will extend at least another 1,200 metres to the south of the current drilling. This significantly increases the probability of extending copper mineralisation to the south, both as shallow copper oxides and deeper copper sulfides, that could turn this prospect into a truly significant new discovery. The upcoming drill programs will go a long way towards determining the potential of the Cangallo porphyry copper discovery. We're closing in on getting permits to allow us to commence stage 3 RC drilling, which will involve drilling off the drill pads shown on this slide, the white circles with the red dot, and we can drill 4 or 5 holes off each pad. So there's a lot of drilling we're able to do. A total of between 5,000 and 8,000 metres will be completed, starting around the end of October, subject to receiving final permits, which we're expecting by then. We're also planning to complete 2 deep diamond holes to at least 800 metres depth, using the currently approved pads to test how far the copper extends with depth. Porphyry systems generally extend to large depth, and that's what we're trying to find out here. They will also provide us with a first look at the geology of the porphyry, and in particular the orientation and frequency of the tonalite dikes, which will help us to vector towards the centre of the system, where we expect to find the source porphyry and hopefully higher grades that are indicated by the dikes. Some photos to give you an idea of the terrain we're dealing with. As you can see, there is no vegetation, no community on site. We're close to the Pacific Ocean, which you can see in the background as a source of water. You can also get a sense of the extent of the cover and the size and scale of the prospect we're testing. The small mounds you can see within the area of cover generally contain sericite alteration with anomalous copper and moly, and this is exactly the same as we're hitting in our drilling. So we're expecting to hit more copper beneath the extensive cover. And the obligatory photo of a drill rig. On a more regional scale, we've secured a strategic land package over 60 kilometres of strike, within which we have defined a number of porphyry and ICG targets, which we believe have been upgraded by the success of our drilling at Cangallo. Cangallo tells us there are porphyry coppers in this belt which other people haven't looked at. The east-west structural corridor, which hosts Cangallo, extends to the east through Zafranal porphyry copper deposit, which is currently being developed by Teck and Mitsubishi. We also have several major competitors on our doorstep, which can add to the sale process if that ever happens. 2 prospects in particular are at the drill-ready stage. This is our Lantana and Playa Kali prospects, and we expect to have the permits for those within weeks, giving us another option to expand our drill coverage and to find other targets similar to Cangallo, something we're looking forward to. All this adds up to a very active program and lots of news flow over the next 6 months. This forward-looking program shows our best estimate for timing and the planned programs at Cangallo, with a small diamond drill program to start in late September and the more extensive stage 3 RC drilling in early November. We're also planning to do a little more metallurgical test work because we're looking to de-risk as much as we can in the project. But we want to wait till we get more coverage before we put in some representative samples. Corporately, we have a small but effective board with the necessary expertise to assess the Cangallo discovery, at least at this stage. We also have sufficient funds to complete the planned drill programs. As I said at the start, the initial excitement in the marketplace, which saw our share price rise to over 6, has cooled a little in recent times, but I hope I've been able to demonstrate why you should now have a closer look at us before we start our next round of drilling. I don't think you will be disappointed. Before I stop, I'd again like to acknowledge the hard work and persistence of our team in Peru, led by Mick, as well as our staff and consultants in Perth. Thanks again for listening, and if you would like to know more, please contact us. It's going to be hard to get us at our booth. We'll be leaving shortly, but happy if you want to come around and see us or contact us via email, etc. Anyway, thanks again for listening.